Who would have thought that speaking mere words to a person, isolating them from family and friends, or preventing them from earning a living because as a man you need them to be full-time housewives could be deadly?
Most times I fall in and out of depression, and sometimes leaving the house, committing suicide, thought of committing suicide would always keep me once in a while. So that was when I knew that I was really abused.
Gone are the days where we think that, I don't know, the woman is probably a property that you acquire, you can do with her what you please. And even if you had that mindset, if you abuse your partner, she's, psychologically unwell, mentally unwell, physically unwell, you're losing value in the relationship.
The husband will not be there, you will just keep them at home. He will not feed the family, even the school fees. You see their children are running about.
A common thread among survivors of non-physical violence spoken to is the loss of self-esteem and the will to live.
I was withdrawn. I didn't want to see friends. I was hiding from friends, and I wasn't happy. Even when I wanted to fake it, when I want to pretend as if I'm happy, I was not really happy.
We're being told to keep quiet, we're being told not to speak up, and especially if there is no physical evidence.
Even some women in domestic violence to say, if you even beat me, it go better. At least when he beats me finish, he go leave me. I go carry iodine. I go put for the place or put ice block. But this one they cost me from morning till night.
One would have thought also that only the poor or non-educated are victims of non-physical abuse, but there are reports of even highly placed and well-educated women being abused.
A woman last time came and said, I've seen Barrister Taiwo and this, but when she came into this office that day, she was looking like a mad woman.
And I asked, you say it's your husband? She said yes. You appear to be so scared. She said yes. She's locked out of her house in the afternoon, once it is 2, and she had made a case. She's working in Nigeria. What are the working hours? When do you close? She's not even a teacher. Even in schools now, you don't even close at 2.
In the media, some female journalists who spoke on condition of anonymity shared how some male colleagues or superiors started out grooming them and providing support, but turned around to frustrate their efforts and made their work difficult when they refused advances.
I wanted to learn everything. I was so anxious. I was so zealous to learn everything about being a journalist in a radio station. Because of how happy I was. My boss knew about my aspirations, and then he offered to mentor me. I was so glad, and I felt like it was a big privilege. Until at some point, he started using demeaning words on me. He started using belittling words on me. I became very, very uncomfortable with the job. It was draining me mentally. I couldn't function well. In fact, I lost interest in the job.
Out of 62 female journalists that responded to the survey, only 13 respondents say their media house has a gender policy. 9 say the policy, though existent, is not being followed or used appropriately. Only 14 people agreed that they have reported the abuse they suffered. Reasons for not reporting range from believing that abuse is the norm to a lack of trust in the office leadership and also the fear of being mocked or sacked. Age is not a factor too, as women of all ages reportedly face abuse.
A case at hand now whereby both the couple, they are both 60. So one is above 60. Come on, where are we going to?
Unknown to most survivors of non-physical abuse and their abusers, the VAP Act criminalizes these acts, and there is a strong network in most states of the Federation working to bring succor and justice to survivors. From the FCT to Ogun State, Niger, Cross River, Oyo, Lagos, Edo, Kebbi, and other states, the police, NAPTIP, Ministry of Women Affairs, and other stakeholders share their response to reports of cases of non-physical violence against women.
In Cross River State, where I practice, we have a very solid network. We have a technical working group. So all civil society organizations, we work together with legal practitioners, with the police, we work together with, all forms of organizations, every stakeholder, we are all working together as one. So there's a high level of awareness, even amongst the police. We train them, periodically on this verbal violence and other forms of violence, and how to respond to cases like this.
I give them first counseling of we call it psychosocial counseling. This is a kind of counseling. You calm the person down. Maybe a man, maybe mostly women, because women are more vulnerable. So you counsel the person, let him or her know that he or she is not alone.
We do more referral. We link them to psychosocial support.
For every 10 cases that are reported, maybe like 7 are referral cases for people that civil defense has rescued, attended their cases to, who felt comfortable with the position that we took or the way we went about the case.
Sadly, some hide under the guise of religion and demand that females in their lives lose themselves or put up with non-physical abuse. But what do religious leaders have to say about this?
The church condemns violence because it can easily lead to death. And the commandment says, thou shalt not kill. I think this is where it is based. This is where it begins. This is where the whole idea of a non-violent lifestyle, a Christian lifestyle, comes from.
Men are the leaders of the home. They should make sure they discharge their duties, and women also are to assist in making sure that the home is peaceful. Whosoever refuses to discharge that responsibility on the day of Qiyamah is going to be of consequence.
Some of these people are also perpetrators, even the clergymen. Sometimes you listen to messages that outrightly it encourages non-physical violence. It encourages abuse in the homes, and some of these clergymen are not even aware that what they are doing is a catalyst to non-physical abuse.
I remember the first time I was beaten. There's a scar here, very open. It's as open as this, and I was injured and I passed out, and my abuser ran away. And when eventually I was attended to, I said they should take me to my pastor's place and show it to him, that see what your assistant pastor did to me. And I was taken to the hospital that night. I remember vividly on the bed, my pastor was warning me that I should not discuss this with anybody, that I know all eyes will be on me when I get to church on Sunday. In fact, they cooked a story for me to tell people.
For students in academic institutions who face abuse, is there any respite? In the University of Calabar, the Dean of Law faculty was suspended. An opportunity was given to students who were survivors of abuse to rewrite exams, thanks to the law students who spoke out and took to the streets. The school has since worked on a gender policy, which has been passed to the Senate for approval. In Cross River State, stakeholders spoken to appealed for a one-stop center, which they said would strengthen their response and bring speedy administration of justice to survivors. Some states have it already, but replicating in 36 states and the FCT would be a good step.
The survivor comes, he needs medical care, he gets it, we need to get an examination done, you get it in the one-stop shop, you need legal services, security, everything in one center. That's what we are lacking for now.
A one-stop center is a place whereby you see the judge from Ministry of Justice has a place domicile in that same spot where you have the GBV counseling center. You have a police desk In case of any arrest, we don't look for a way to go to the police station to seek for an arrest. If it has to do with health, we have the doctor and at least a nurse desk officer with him there.
The following are institutional gaps that need to be addressed, without which it would seem that only lip service is being paid to ending all forms of gender-based violence, including physical and non-physical, in Nigeria. For the Nigerian police, when we visited police stations across the country to lay reports at the gender desk, the first response we got was always for the survivor to leave the marriage, followed by an invitation of the perpetrator to sign undertakings. What happened to prosecution in line with punishments as prescribed in the VAP Act? For academic institutions, our case study being the University of Calabar, there was no non-gender police in place to act as safeguard and discourage perpetrators. The response we got when we spoke to the officer in charge of gender studies at the University of Calabar is, our institution is strongly against physical violence against women and girls. Critically, our policy is still in development stage, trying to position to meet contemporary challenges. For how long would this be so? NAPTIP too has been empowered to prosecute within the FCT. Extending their power to all the states and adequate funding would mean a lot in the fight to end violence against women and girls. Adequate funding, in fact, of all stakeholders in the network and providing safe shelters across the states would be a huge step in breaking the culture of silence and encouraging survivors to live to live. The law enforcement agencies are clear about their stand and send strong warnings to perpetrators of non-physical abuse.
It has been a subject of lecture to men and officers that are mounting the gender desk offices across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. When it comes to cases as such, nobody, I don't think it's now or maybe it was before, no case is treated as a trivial case. Once you are indulging in that kind of activities, just expect the wrath of the law to go after you.
You know, in football match, when you do something wrong, there's something called a red card. NAPTIP is giving them a red card. It is no, total no to violence against persons, because violence destroys the society. That has any case or that wants to report any case can call 627, number 627, and it's for people on MTN. We also have another number that is called toll free. It's a toll free number too, 070-300-0203. Those are two toll-free numbers that anybody can call anytime, and there's somebody there at the end to pick your call and I'll give you some assistance.
Calls to the NAPTIP emergency number were promptly answered and victims or survivors were invited over. But if what we learned from the NAPTIP gender officer is anything to go by, no funding came with the responsibility of handling GBV cases, which means some of the survivors might not get adequate help or attention, as lack of funds will be a factor.
Oftentimes when you want to charge such cases to court, the victim or the survivor holds back, coming to tell you that I didn't mean it to go this far, I just wanted you to caution. In some cases they would have spoken to their family, relatives, to their pastors, to their imams, who would have advised that you cannot do this to your father of your children. Do you know what it means? How are you going to explain to your children? They're beginning to arouse a lot of sentiments, emotion, and what have you. So it's the same person who comes to report, who's going through a form of an abuse that you want to take justice for, is telling you that no. So if the victim or the survivor is saying that don't go, who are you going to use in the court of law as an evidence and witness?
In that scenario, who will you prosecute? Who will be your complainant? Who will be your complainant? Because you need a complainant. You need somebody to bring an action.
Society needs to understand that non-physical violence is real. Non-physical violence is much more life-threatening because it is affecting the mental health of women and young people.
The good news is survivors do not need money to get a lawyer to take up their case, as FIDA, the Federation of Female Lawyers International, provides pro bono services.
So the one who just went up, did she give us money? No, we don't charge a dime. We do not charge. It's a pro bono services.
We send a letter to the other party inviting him or her to our office in order to listen to his or our own part of the story. Then when we listen to the part of the story, it depends on how the case goes, on how the story goes, then we know what to do on how to deal with the cases.
You see, non-physical violence does affect the mental health of women. So I join my voice to say no to verbal, emotional, and economic abuse. Let's all join our hands to say no to all forms of violence against women. The truth is that hurt people. So fix your hurt so that you don't hurt anyone. I learned this as an adult, and I wish I had learned it earlier. And we're all passing this message across to say, let's stop all violence against women.
Many survivors are suicidal, and some capable of murder due to deep feelings of resentment that have been suppressed. Let's save lives. Let's end non-physical abuse. Let's end violence against women and girls. This message is brought to you with the support of African Women in Media in collaboration with the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism.